Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where in the world you are. My name is Bob Wright, here for the Transitioning Show. Welcome, everyone in the chat room. Welcome, Carmelle and Julien, who are with me here also.
Good
Hello.
evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are.
Hello. Hail, hail, the gang is all here.
And we're all back together again.
Yay! Yeah. Today we have a really good show. We have lots to talk about, and again, as always, we want to encourage all of you to participate in our conversation, in our discussion. Everybody who is in the chat room right now, hello, Deborah, RCC, Tiff, Linda, Paul, all of you, thank you for joining in. For those of you who are calling in via phone, remember that our call-in number is 646-716-4598, or if you have Skype, you can click the Skype button right at the top. And please join us in our chat. If you don't see the chat screen at the bottom of the Blog Talk Radio page, refresh your screen, and somewhere down at the bottom you should see the chat where you can type your questions in if you have them. We'll try to keep track of them. We wanted to talk today about synergistic energy exchanges, or SEX. I'm going to redefine it in a way, and the love of self and how it relates to connecting with others. Because this is, now we had talked about intimacy before, and something that is very, very needed and necessary, in this day and age. And I am really, as we're starting, on the collective imagination, we're talking about the organic technology that we're awakening. Well, we have an ability. Scriptures talk about it. Ancient writings talk about it. When two or more are gathered in my name, there I am also. Or whatever two or more request in my name, so shall it be done. It's the ability to connect. And that when we connect with other people, our power is amplified exponentially. It's not like when you connect with another person that your power is doubled, sometimes quadrupled. It's an exponential factor. But this ability to connect with one another, and how we connect with one another, how we can, unify in that way and unify our energy fields in a way. There's been so much, inundated on society that keeps us so separated by sexes, and then separated by ages, separated by nationality, separated by political structure, there's all of these levels of separation, separated by religion, that indoctrinate us and keep us from making those connections.
Or getting too close.
Yes. And
it's a type of just allow people to get close together, but don't let them to get too close.
Right. And a lot of things are internal ideas that we have in our head that we're not worthy. And it's one of those things, we're not worthy of love. We don't feel lovable all the time. We certainly don't feel sexy all the time, or that we can connect with other people in an intimate way. And please, and I need to stress this, when I talk about sex, I'm talking about an energy exchange. I'm not talking about necessarily intercourse. That is just one way to exchange energy. But I'm talking about, let's see, if anybody's had a pet, especially a dog, okay? Now, do you know the significance of when a dog rolls over on his back and just kind of lays his head back and leaves himself open like that? Does anyone know what
submission?
Yeah, it's not just submission, but it's a sign of absolute trust. He's left himself completely open and vulnerable. His heart is open, his neck is open, all of his organs are completely exposed. It is a sign also of submission, but of complete and absolute trust.
Trust and openness.
Yes. And that position of vulnerability is not a position that very many humans are willing to assume with each other.
That's right.
There is that fear of vulnerability, and that fear of being hurt. There's always that level of mistrust. I'll be taken advantage of, and I'm not saying that these fears. We live in a world where there's a lot of people who are not operating at their full capacity, I would say. I'm not going to call them evil, but
that's really good, yeah.
They're not operating at their full capacity, and so we have to use discernment, but we also really, really need to make those connections and understand that, being open and being vulnerable, and when I say vulnerable, people think of that as being weak.
Like a weakness.
And it's not. Being absolutely and completely vulnerable is where you will find your greatest strength. Because it is there in your heart. When your heart opens, and that is the feeling when I say open yourself. We're talking about something that is in your heart center, your emotional, affectual center that you open up and you allow that which is within to come out and also to receive. Now, a lot of people have been taught that there's more joy in giving than there is receiving. And I would like to change that thought. I believe that is a
program.
It's a program. Yes, there is joy in giving, but that is definitely what Carmelle would call a yang paradigm. Am I right?
Okay.
But also in receiving. Now, that part, that female receptive part, is a part that has been greatly suppressed in the world. And the ability to receive is equally as important in the exchange as giving. Would you not agree?
I would agree. Absolutely.
We a lot of times, we have the idea that we're being selfless when we're giving, but when we're receiving, it's selfish, and that's not true. Everything that you do is from the perspective of self. So everything that you do is in a way self-serving, but we do good things to other people because it makes us feel good. We receive in the moment of giving. It's almost a simultaneous act. And when you see it that way, it is a perfect exchange. When you make if Neil Donald Walsh is one of my mentors as I was coming up, and one of the things that he said, that really, really struck with me, is that when you have that perfect exchange, of giving, you are doing these things because it makes you happy. It makes you happy to make someone else happy. Whatever it is that you want to experience in yourself, give it to another and you will experience it immediately within yourself. So, let the discussion begin.
Kind of like, I use this term, but I probably shouldn't use it. It's like cheating by helping someone else. You're helping yourself.
Yes.
At the same time. So some people use that to the nth degree, and they focus on other people. But when they're not receiving the reciprocation, they feel jaded, and they feel that energy is being dropped, and they feel it's not worth it. And then, so what they do is they focus on themselves directly, and they feel this lack of, I should be doing something outwards for others. And so they get caught up that I'm really quite selfish, and that has no benefit.
Exactly.
So I have a lovely friend, a loving friend, and this person loves to give and give and give and give and give. And it's hard for him to receive. Very difficult for him to receive things. So if you give him something, he runs and he grabs something and gives something back to you. Mm-hmm. And so I said, hold on, we have to let the cycle complete here. Just hang on a second. Put your stuff away. Sit down. Sit down. Let me give you a big hug. If I can't give you anything, I'm going to give you this, So, that the receiving, I noticed that there are, and everybody goes through these cycles of unworthiness. I think especially now when we're pulling weeds out of the garden, out of our little emotional gardens and our habits. We run across these little bumps where we don't feel worthy for one reason or another. But I'm hoping that individuals who are listening, to this kind of a program, have the wherewithal to say, yeah, I recognize when I do that sometimes, and I know what that feels like now. I'm starting to tap into the familiarity of the signal within my own heart, within my own solar plexus, what feels good and what doesn't feel good, So yeah, not running to rescue anybody, not running to make anybody feel better, because that's impossible. You can share in a loving moment. You can share in an uplifting moment, but that's the key word is sharing. If there's no reciprocation, if there isn't anything on the other end of the circuit, the circuit is not complete. So be that physical, be that emotional, or be that just a casual exchange, it's kind of important to allow that circuit to be open and be okay with that. And I think everyone's working on that.
I love how you put that, how allowing that circuit to be open, because it really much works that way. It really does. Because if any of you have ever truly been in love, okay, and shared that intimacy with that other person. Now, when you're in an intimate relationship like that, and you're in the throes of intimacy, you are completely open. There is a surrender and an acceptance, an abandonment of all of those, inhibitions, blockages. You are open in ways, and when two people are engaged in intimate congress like that, whoa, the power. You have, there is no that's not, there's no reason why, there is a reason why. The reason that creation can take place, new life can be formed from such a union. That's how powerful you are.
And consciousness can be invited.
Yes. And it is an extremely powerful thing. Now, how do we translate that in our daily lives with ourselves and our families, our friends, and I'm not just talking about having sex with everybody, because I'm talking about the ability to love another, to open up, surrender, and open up and be vulnerable and trusting with another human being and make that connection. Consciously.
What's been going on in my life is I've been making what I'm just terming empathy bonds with people. And this is, like making friends, but willing to be all of myself, not holding back any iota of who I am. I'm not hiding the fact of what I do. I'm not hiding the fact of the subjects that interest me. And I'm finding pretty much just people that are interested in me for who I am. And I don't have to spend any time role-playing a scenario of who I need to outwardly project myself to be. So being in that vulnerable state, I allow others to have empathy for me in the way that I wish. And by offering my experience of empathy of others, I am able to get into their perspective and come from where they come from, and it builds these empathy bonds. So it's a two-way street, but just by myself, I know that I can prepare the space for my experience just by being myself. That's making it easier for people to have empathy for me, and me developing my empathy for others. I don't even have to have anyone else participate before I can start doing this. So that was a really big deal for me, because always I was like, this person's not ready to love me, and I'm not ready to love that person. I can't fit within these parameters. But then I found out it's all my effort, and that everything comes about very naturally when you are made you make your space available for others to come in and participate with you in those things that you're sensitive to.
Well, it's something that's necessary. When we talk about co-creation and co-creating things, it requires another party. It requires, and co-creation is basically what we're here to do.
Yeah.
It's what we're here to do.
Right.
Otherwise, it'd be just one of us.
Right. We're a gendered reality for a reason as well, and it's not just the physical manifestation. That's that electrical circuit that we were, referring to earlier. But one thing I do want to add on to what Julien was just saying regarding putting himself out there and feeling vulnerable. And that word vulnerable is, when people hear that, there's like this big void. But I think that underneath the word vulnerable is a sense of security and self-acceptance, not even security, self-acceptance. And again, that self-acceptance, particularly at this juncture of our consciousness awakening, of the wave that we're experiencing right now. A lot of people who have been, thumping the light worker drum, as we mentioned the article that has just come out, and people are talking about, discernment between what is light worker and what is this and that, and trying to jockey yourself into a position of comfort with where your beliefs and your level of discernment is within yourself. So the work I think that has been predominant amongst the awakened ones and the awakening ones has been taking the eternal prime creator idea and bringing it into self. That is a big step for most people. I think it's once you get that, you're not afraid to have intimacy on varying degrees. You understand who you can become close to just by their energetic field, and who's not quite ready for you yet. Not that you have to, like you were saying, I don't have to fit into somebody else's. They're, if they're ready for you, when you in that presence of now presence, and that means when you're in your now presence, you have that eternal main line, to prime creator, because you're a spark of prime creator. And so I think that's a big burger for people to bite,
Well, it's almost like a catch-22, because so many people look for that feeling of worthiness and outside of themselves, and they find that they can't make those connections until they make it inside, and that is the key. When you are feeling complete and whole, where you feel as though I don't need a partner, then you're probably ready to have one, ready to truly co-create in a sharing, and that's important, in a sharing atmosphere, because otherwise it's a give and take atmosphere, and that so many relationships are like that.
Yeah, and somebody always has to be keeping score.
Yeah.
And it's like it's exhausting. And it wears itself out, and then then the next thing, the only thing you have left is some sexual titillation, that keeps you stimulated, and then once that fire starts to dwindle, it's all done. You're sitting there looking at this other person, saying, "Oh, okay, well, we're growing in other directions." If you're lucky, that's what you're saying. If you've been doing any work at all, you'll say, I can look back now and see. And I think a lot of relationships that are making these separations, and also the ones that are making new connections, are taking a deeper look at their own accountability. And those that are not are the ones that are in deep pain. They're traumatized by the losses that they're experiencing right now. And I know many, many people who are having separations at this point from long-term relationships. From deeply committed, socially committed relationships, and it's a bumpy road. It's a little bit bumpy because you have to look at yourself in the mirror. It's your ride. it's your journey, it's your experience, so your contribution has to be acknowledged every step of the way. And once we do that, and I think that word vulnerability that's the underlying, that goes underneath that accountability. Once you're accountable, the vulnerability is not an issue anymore. And it's not even, you don't even use that word, I'm vulnerable.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You use the word, I'm transparent.
I'm transparent. I'm present.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It doesn't even sound healthier. It doesn't even sound more solidified within the self-presence. Yeah, it does. It feels that way too. So if you disagree, then you're in a relationship, a new relationship, or even an old relationship. You're disagreeing. You can disagree lovingly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. When we're talking, we're redefining what relationships are in this new energy, and how we relate to ourselves, and how that relates to others. Let's talk about some of the things that we've been conditioned to believe that keep us separate. Most people, now I can tell you my own experience, because growing up as a gay man, I was always taught to be ashamed of my sexuality. And that doesn't just happen with gay people, but it's more pronounced, I would say, with gay people, that I was taught to be ashamed of my sexuality. Not only to be ashamed of it, but that it was evil in some way. It was twisted, and it was perverted. So, with that prospect, and of course I was growing up in a organized religion that reinforced those social ideas, I was so lonely. I was so alone that it drove me to suicide. I did not see how I could live.
You didn't see the point.
Yeah.
If I can't be myself, why am I hanging out here?
And if I can't connect with others or share, as you said, my love, that there was no point in living. And that's how I saw it. In a way, I still see it that way. Now you know what is living. Yes.
Now you know what the point really is.
Exactly. And so, getting rid of that idea, that was hard for me. It took a very, very close friend of mine, and his name is Josh. And Josh, if you're ever listening to this, I thank you 1,000 times. That I sat down and I actually came out to him crying, and I felt so terrible telling him my deep, dark secret. And he was the first one who ever looked at me in the eye and said, maybe that's not a problem, Bob. Maybe God doesn't care. Maybe God just wants you to be happy.
What a concept.
It was, for me it was a profound, really? Like, God wants me to be this way? Really? But it caused me to look at myself in such a different way, to look at what I was being told and what I was being taught, to really and truly analyze it. And it also changed my concept of God. And, a lot of these things are related to how we feel about ourselves. And it's so very important to take a look at these things and analyze, is this really true? Is this the type of God I believe in, that he would hate me? Or is this the type of religion, or is this the type of idea that really, shows, quote unquote, what we've understood to be unconditional love?
Well, we weren't taught unconditional love. We were taught quite conditional love. But, that was then, and now we know better. We do, and again, if we're listening to this program, we know better. And when do we stop and say, okay, since I know better, when am I going to take that belief to heart? When do I do this? Because nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's ever going to give you permission. They're going to encourage you. You'll have your friends and your pals and your family of energetics around you that'll support you. But until you make the choice to forget what was the past, it doesn't exist. There's so many therapies, and you can be in therapy for 15 lifetimes to get rid of what you keep thinking about in one lifetime or a part of one lifetime. At some point, there has to be enough love that you say, I love you enough to let you go. You and your beliefs and all of that stuff. And, I grew up in a second generation Italian family, Catholic. Are you kidding me? Sex wasn't. We weren't. And women, we were supposed to be, like women in Italian are like the Japanese women too. Be quiet, be submissive. Cook the food, clean the house, have the babies, and I never fit that mold, man. It was just never gonna. I had the babies, I had the home, I enjoyed all of that, but I did it my way. So there are some beings who have had some sort of, I don't know what to say, some sort of energy when they come into this planet, when they come into this reality, and they're born. There are certain things you're going to experience, and certain things you're not going to experience. I didn't have the same trip that you had, Bob. I didn't have the same trip that Julien had, or anybody else that's listening to this. But at some point, I had my own trip, and it was just as painful, and I had just as many dark moments because of the very same issues perceived in my way. So at what point do we put those things aside and we just step out of it? We just step out of it like an old wrinkly suit that's starting to smell from the unloving aspects of it, and just step into our own love first.
Linda B has asked a question in the chat room. She says, okay, so when that program is deeply ingrained, how do you overcome it? Well, I think she answered her own question. Awareness. First, you have to be aware that the program is there. Because once you're aware of the program, it's no longer something that you're doing unconsciously.
Right.
Okay?
If you can talk about it, you're already healing it.
Exactly. And it's that awareness that allows you to change it. Because, just like in changing if you have a mannerism or quote-unquote a habit, okay, it's only a habit when you're not aware of it. Once you become aware of it, just like Bashar says, it's no longer a habit, it's a choice.
It's a choice, right. Then that's what I'm saying. Then you make these choices. Do I keep ruminating on the same pain, for 50 years, or do I go, that sucked. Okay, I don't want to do that anymore. That wasn't fun.
Right.
And you catch yourself. There's lots of tools out there. Many, many very subtle tools. You don't have to go take your problems and talk to a stranger and pay them money to listen to your problems and then for them to say, and how do you feel about that? Because ultimately, that's really all they can say to you. You have to feel something. You have to feel enough to make a different choice. So there's EFT, there's emotional freedom technique, there are affirmations, there are, I prepave every day. I still have, little loops that want to come out, but I'm going through them slowly. The other thing is once you realize that you're participating, and that's the hard part for a lot of people, they don't want to feel like they participated. It was all somebody else's fault. They don't take responsibility. When you start asking the question, you're already on the path to uncovering the real answer. And then when you get to the mirror and if there's nothing but you and your own reflection, you have to make a choice. Do I want to be this person? Do I want to continue to ruminate and chew on this pain and talk about it and feel it until I'm all pruny, Or do I want to step outside of it? And most of us, I think, again, who are listening to these programs, these kinds of programs, know exactly what they're going to do. But taking those steps to be active, and that's why I'm always yelling, I'm yelling at people, be now. Just find a way, find any kind of sort of way, I don't care what it is, to get yourself back into your moment, back into the moment where nobody's hurting you. You understand? No, your mother isn't standing over your shoulder, and if she is, and you don't like it, you need to draw a line in the sand for yourself. Love yourself enough to bring yourself around people who are loving you. And then the healing starts, because then your reflection, what you're seeing in the mirror, what you're seeing in your outer reality is becoming softer. It's becoming more loving, a little more loving every day, a little more loving as you put in your own effort to love yourself enough to stop thinking the things that bring you pain or feeling the things that bring you pain. Your feelings are your feelings, right?
Mhm. Exactly. You know, I do, you know, there's so many different ways when you reach that choice point, because once you become aware of that habit and you identify and you're in that moment of choice, you ask yourself the question. I ask myself, how does this serve me? And if it doesn't, right, why am I holding on to it? You know?
I think that's a really important question. When everybody can say to themselves, you know, this hurts when I do this, or this hurts when I engage in this thought. Why? That's the healing question. Why am I doing it? Okay. Well, it doesn't matter why anymore. Do you want to do it, continue to do, or do you want to change your mind and go do something fun? You know. And again, self accountability has to be taken with both hands, and it has to be held on to very, very tightly. When you first take it back from having allowed it through conditioning, indoctrination, through all the conditioning.
Well, another point I wanted to bring out is we've been conditioned to believe in a false idea of perfection, or what beauty is, and what it is to be quote unquote normal. We're sold lots of different ideas, and I'm looking at some of the comments. People saying, well, I'm ugly. Well,
in whose eyes?
In whose eyes? Thank you, Carmelle.
In whose eyes?
Yeah.
In whose eyes? This is one of those things, that it's not what other people think. It's what you think.
It's your reality. There is no out there. It's your reality. How you feel about yourself is what you surround yourself with, materially, emotionally, spiritually.
And it happens automatically too, actually.
Yeah. The law of attraction never shuts off.
That's right.
I get up and I prepave in the morning because I know I have these little things that I have, little habits that I want to remember to do things that make me happy. So I talk to myself and I say, we're going to remember to catch that if that should come by today. Other than that, we're going to focus on the sunshine, whatever the sunshine represents for the day for me, my joy. You really need to take it moment by moment. It's a moment by moment existence. That's a real hard pill for other people to swallow, because that means you must be accountable moment to moment. You can't slip back into slumber.
And when you react to things like this, usually it's, like I said, it's always about what's going on inside you. Because let's say that you were wearing a purple outfit, okay? And someone came up to you and said, I can't stand green, so I hate your outfit. Well, you'd be looking at them like, what are you talking about? Are you colorblind? I'm not wearing green, I'm wearing purple. Okay, you would not take it to heart. You wouldn't really get upset. You would like, okay, this guy's obviously colorblind or crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But if you thought what you were wearing was green, if it was green, and he said that, then you'd be like, then you would have a reaction, because you would think it was true about yourself. You only react negatively when you think it's true yourself. If you know that that's not true, you won't react. So you have to analyze, what is it I'm thinking about myself, and why do I think that way about myself? What has caused me to believe this about myself? And
again, going back and trying to figure out why is a problem. It keeps you there. You see what I'm saying?
I feel sometimes in our sort of like not knowing that we're the center of our own universe, we accept our surroundings and we accept what we've been told, and we accept what our senses have given us, even though it may not be the actual complete picture. So we're constantly in a growing state in this environment with our bodies, observing and accepting what's in front of us or what's being told to us. And we often, we'll just take it at face value and won't understand sort of the motivations. Like, from my point of view, I would want to know, why is that person even bothering me about the shirt? Why has he got to tell me that he has a problem with the shirt in the first place? And I get concerned on those levels personally.
Well, and I do this too. Everybody does this, and ultimately I end up coming to this place where I have to say to myself, well, Carm, what were you thinking that you even attracted that thought? Because 9 out of 10 times I'm wrong about what they're thinking.
I watched a really powerful demonstration of this, Carmelle, and maybe you, or Julien, maybe you can remember. I saw it on YouTube, but what it was an experiment that they did, and they took one of those police artists, sketch artists, and they had the person describe themselves to the sketch artist, and he would draw how they described themselves. Then they would ask that person's friends to describe them, and the sketch artist would describe how they described them. And then they would put the two portraits side by side, and almost all the time, the one that you described yourself looks much uglier than the one that they described.
Right, and the artist couldn't see the person in question.
Yeah, and the artist could not see the person in question.
So he only went off visual cues.
Yep.
I mean, his auditory cues. He was just listening to what they were saying, and he would put that in there.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
It was quite.
So you see, that's projection. When whatever you're experiencing, and it's prickly. I know. I don't like to admit this, but whenever I'm tweaky with something, it's me. It's me. Sometimes it takes me an hour or 2 or a day or 3 to figure it out, to get a hold of it, to take responsibility for it. But I do, and and it's just a process. They're always gonna come up. As long as we're hanging around in time inside bodies like this, the density, these things are gonna probably continue for a while. But when we get to the forgiving place, immediately going, oh, I'm feeling like the fuzzy end of the lollipop, It's like Marilyn Monroe. Why do I always get the fuzzy end of the lollipop? Because that's what you're expecting. When you're going out, you're not feeling really good about yourself because of a tape that's replaying in your head, a subconscious tape that's playing in your head. A should, a must, some internal pressure, internal anxiety about fear, of lack. These are the things that make us project. And we really do. If you want to get well, you have to take responsibility. If you want to be happy, you have to take responsibility for your joy. And the joy is in there. Look at all babies. All babies. You look at them and they have nothing but joy, unless their bellies are hungry or they have a little gas. There's all joy.
Yeah. We have a caller on the line.
Wonderful.
Do we want to take a caller?
Yeah.
Sure.
Area code 661. Can you hear us? Hello, I heard you. Say hello again.
Hello.
There you go.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear
Yes.
you.
This is Oliver from
Oliver.
Hi, Oliver.
Yeah. Hi guys. I didn't think I would make it actually, or I did maybe. I don't know. Julien, I've been talking to you through Skype some time ago, and I must say, you all guys, you're awesome. I'm just.
And you are too.
Asshole.
You are, Oliver.
Well, I'm listening to almost all the shows, and I must say, especially to you, Bob, you're like coming around, and everything you say, it's like you some small little notch on the big wheel coming through, and you like get one point after the other, and it's amazing. And Julien, you have your energy, and Carmelle, you're new but not new, and yeah, you're awesome, guys. I don't know what to say. Awesome.
Thank you, Oliver.
I've been following this since the beginning almost, and I totally sense what you're going through, Julien, because I've been on the similar journey. Just letting go of attachments and been in a relationship I thought was like, oh, this is it, but then realizing no, maybe not. Then moving, and it's amazing. I just have to share one thing. Actually, it's yesterday. I don't know what it was yesterday. Maybe you can elaborate, Julien. But it was almost a full moon. I went outside and it was a clear sky. I live in the mountains in the middle upper north of Sweden, and I looked at the moon and it was shining bright. And then to the right of the moon, I saw a perfect numeric number 2 written in clouds. I have never seen, and it sat there for 10 minutes, and I went in, fetched my daughter and told her and showed her, and it was still there. It was like, okay, that's, I don't know, that was so...
Do you know what the number 2 means?
Well, I've been seeing some numbers, but I think it's 2 and 4 and 3 and all those numbers. They're like just jumping at me. It has been for 1.5 years.
You got a 2 last night. You definitely got a 2. You're talking about relationship. 2 is about partnering and connection and communication. It's a partnership number.
Yeah, I sensed that actually because I draw a card. I have this little deck, and love came up again. So it was.
I'm looking at Carmelle's Skype picture, and she has the number 2. She's putting up a peace symbol. Just taking note of that.
Beautiful.
Holding up 2 fingers.
Yeah. I'm getting all warm and fuzzy here.
Oh.
I love you guys. Oh my God! I have been listening to you for so long, and now I'm talking to you. I can't believe it. Well, I will not hold up the line for longer, and I would just want to say thank you very much for everything.
Glad to have you come on.
Because I truly love you deeply, and keep it up,
Oliver.
We are all beautiful beings. It's okay. See you and talk to you again. Okay.
Thank you, Oliver, for coming on.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Oliver.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
There's a lot of talk in the chat about physical beauty, and I want to remind people. I guess I was about 12 years old the first time that I saw the movie E.T. Now, in this movie, I was there with my aunt, and at the end of near the end of the movie, everybody was crying, and my aunt yells like she's a whaler.
Okay.
And she was going on, I can't believe I'm crying over this ugly thing. And that statement was so profound.
Yeah.
Because it's not about physical or what you perceive as physical beauty that people fall in love with. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, the majority of your quote-unquote perfect people, I mean your beautiful people, when you look, if you have the ability to see energy, and I'm not going to, I could name names if I wanted to, but there's certain celebrities that are renowned for their physical beauty, but when you see what's coming out of them energetically, I don't see any attraction at all. And I'm sure you know people like this. Mm-hmm. It's not about your physical form, because I'll tell you what, when it comes to sex, I don't care if you're 400 pounds, there is someone into that. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter. You know, it really doesn't matter. What really matters, you know, is what's coming out of the form. And what's coming out of the form is what you feel about yourself.
Right.
So when I see these people who are behaving badly, you know, and I'm not trying to, like, you know, polarize things, but who are behaving in a way that is unacceptable, that is hurtful for themselves or hurtful to others, I look and I see and I ask, what must they think of themselves to treat others that way? What must they really think of themselves? Because only what only that comes out is what's within.
Right.
You know, so you're looking at people who really don't love themselves. You know, and that is why they behave the way they behave. They can't accept who they are, or they don't know who they are, because every soul is beautiful. You know, it was created and in perfection. You know, that there is no such thing as ugly in existence. You know, it's just a matter of perception and how you're taught to believe, you know, what is beautiful and what isn't. What is beautiful is what is. That is love, you know, because that's all made. Oh goodness, if you can learn. I don't see energy, and I don't know how other people perceive energy. I feel it, but the energy of the universe has got a underlying commonality, and I call that commonality love. It has a foundation of love. Everything is built upon it. It is the core essence of who you are. And you may not believe that yet. You may not perceive that yet. But perhaps you haven't really looked deeply to see that. Because when you do, you're going to find that the only reason why you're concerned about it is because you love so much. And because you want to share that love so much. You hurt because you can't find a way to share that love, to express that love. You call that hurt and pain loneliness. You call that hurt and pain isolation. You call that hurt and pain by lots of different names, but it all relates to the same thing, a blockage that prevents you from loving.
From loving yourself.
From loving yourself, ultimately. We've got another caller on the line.
Wonderful.
Area code 902. Are you there?
Hi, everyone. It's Matthew.
Hello,
Matthew.
I'm really loving the conversation, and I think it's really important, and we don't really talk about this stuff that much because there's so many other things to speak about. But I think this is nice to not so much nip it in the bud, but understand from a looking in the mirror perspective, when we're not, when we look at the physical, when we look at the material, and we're unsatisfied, and then we make choices on what we see with our eyes instead of, what we see from our heart. Because I've done this dance so many times, never being satisfied with how I look or how I'm presenting myself or what have you. But every single time, it's just me chasing my tail around, because when I do finally get like, okay, so this is the best that I can look, or now I'm satisfied with what I look like physically, it does not matter, because I didn't find the root of why I was holding that condition in the first place. Mm-hmm. And what I've practiced doing, and what works for me, is instead of looking, let's say our legs, instead of looking at the legs like, okay, I don't like the way my leg looks, I look at my leg and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Look, it's like a tree trunk, and I'm feeling so strong, and it's holding me up. And and looking at from all it does for me, and what your body does for you, and how amazing it is to have this physical body, and I can jump around right now and just dance with it, and like feel the life flowing out of the physical body. It's not so much about the image. We don't even need to live in that world, because there's so many other people who aren't living in that world anymore. So it's just kind of like join on with everyone else who we're leaving that behind. That's not our reality anymore.
Right. I have a friend who's an energetic healer, and one of the things she helps her clients with is when they have a boo-boo, and they come to her with something that's short-circuiting, doesn't matter what it is, the putting your hands on yourself, like you are admiring your legs and being grateful for your legs, the simple act of putting your hands on yourself, just holding your chest, for instance, and saying, I really, really love you. Your cells are listening to you. Everything, every part of you that is projected into the reality that we perceive into time as a body, on the earth and all that stuff, it's just a fragment. So when we do this, we heal so much faster. So her clients, if they have rash conditions, for instance, put their hands right on the rash and say, I really love you. It's okay. I really love you. The rashes heal like 4 times faster than when she has clients that just won't do that for themselves.
Yeah.
They won't take the time to take a moment and say, I really love me and I'm really okay. I mean, you don't have to be 100% convinced of it, but you've got to start talking yourself to that point. And beginning, you got to start it sometime. I love what you just said. When I look at my legs and instead of saying, I like the way my legs look, I say, boy, I'm so glad I have legs. These are great. Aren't these great? It's a good place to start, Matt. It really is. It's a great place to start. Keeping it simple is really important, too.
And regardless of what condition you're in right now, regardless of whether you're overweight, whether you're underweight, whether it doesn't matter. Once you start to love yourself and thank yourself, because if you can ask the question, it means, number one, you're alive. Okay?
Yeah.
And if you're alive, you can thank your body for that. You're alive. And regardless of how much you may have abused it in the past, it's still carrying you, still supporting you, still keeping you in that experience. And you've got to love that. I have abused my body in ways that, and I'm so thankful, because I'm so glad that I've chosen this body. Maybe another one would have given out a long time ago, right? And I'm so grateful for my body. And I'll tell you what, when you start adopting those feelings and you start making those, your cells are listening to you. When you're disappointed in them, they feel that. Do you understand? They are little versions of you. And understand how you felt when someone told you, right, you're good for nothing, low down, dirty, but how did it make you feel? And then we do that to ourselves. We do that to ourselves.
Right. We do. That's the whole point. We do it to ourselves. At this point...
It's like self-hypnosis.
Right.
Yeah.
Just keep reinforcing the belief, and yeah, it's going to take a while for you to undo that belief.
But when you change it, it is unbelievable how your form will change to match the new thought. I have seen people literally transform. They were in a bad place, depressed, doing drugs, and something happened where they changed. They changed their perception. They changed the way they view themselves. They come out of their depression, and all of a sudden you see them 2 or 3, and you don't even recognize them. Oh my God, what happened? What happened to you?
It's true. It's true. I've morphed myself more than once in my lifetime.
Yes.
For extreme back to extreme again, to extreme back to extreme again. Now I'm humming towards the middle way. You know. You know, I got to tell you, as a woman, I've nothing turns me on more than a man who knows who he is. So suddenly you just don't even see the physical. I had a friend, I never saw his body. For like 2 years I knew him. I couldn't even really see his body. All I could see was his energy field. And he had NF, neurofibromatosis. People would say to me when we would be out, my God, what's wrong with him? And I'd say, nothing. He's brilliant and he's awesome. What do you mean what's wrong with him? Oh, he's got all these things and oh, he's got this thing. It's no big deal. But you see, when you're pure with somebody, when you're really connecting with the essence of the person, the physical body, even though it may have genetic defects, etc., you don't see it. You just don't see it.
You don't see it, really.
It doesn't exist, you know.
I mean, we're also talking
he
about...
was a sexy MF, I tell you what, you know.
The outward body is commonly used as a first impression, right? Just not really fair under any relationship that lasts more than 5 minutes, really. Because the moment you start interacting with someone at anything more than being able to glance at them without them even being able to glance back is a very shallow experience of someone. It really comes down to getting past the template that they're born with, which has nothing to do with who they choose to be the moment they're actually born and who they grow into. And so we also, a lot of the people that I see who are like altering their appearance are really only giving people, you know, a 5-minute interesting thing for them to focus on before they start speaking. And then at the same time, people actually like make up stories about themselves so that they embellish who they are, and that doesn't last, you know.
You know what?
Much longer
turns
either.
Me on? People who are real.
Yeah.
Real. Just be real. You know. There's questions in the chat room.
I like that one about jealousy. I like that one.
Yeah. Can we
That's
please address the issue of jealousy? When I think about jealousy, you know, before we had mentioned about the idea of being complete in yourself. When you're complete in yourself, and when I say complete, when you make statements like, this person makes me complete, or that person makes me feel whole, or that person makes me feel alive, that is the same thing as saying, I am incomplete, I am not whole, I am not alive. It comes from a looking outside of yourself to fill something inside that you perceive to be lacking. And then that person becomes almost like a drug. I need that person in order to feel good. I need this person in order to feel complete. I need this person in order to feel alive. And when that person is not there, okay, you're just like a drug addict. Where's my fix? Where were you? Why weren't you here? And there is a need to control and to have that person near you all the time. It is a relationship that you're in for what you can get out rather than for what you can put in or a sharing.
I think that's really important. Oh.
Go ahead, Matt, please.
Yeah, what I was going to add to that, I think that's really important, especially what I've started doing is I've started looking at myself, you know, as the try, you know, speaking from a father point of view for myself. Am I encouraging myself? Am I affirming that I'm strong? And am I affirming that I'm active and I use my will responsibly, appropriately, my divine will? I'm looking at it from a mother perspective. Am I nourishing myself? Am I connecting with my emotions? Am I caring for myself? Do I have that motherly touch? And am I doing that with myself? And is it okay that I can be childish sometimes and play around and fall down and make boo-boos? We are the divine feminine and the divine masculine coming into oneness, coming into creation, the playful, magical child. And I think really when we start looking at ourselves that we are those three things, it's all inside, you know what I mean? Look at it from those 3 points of view and love yourself from those 3 points of view and don't leave anything out because it's all there. And when we take that holistic view and realize that we are that whole and we can love ourselves from all of those different beautiful aspects, then guess what? Someone else will show up in our lives to mirror that back to us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You first become your own soulmate. You first become your own beloved.
Right.
And once you do that, right, there is no need for anything outside of yourself to feel whole. You are whole and complete. And when there is no need, then all that you can do is share that which you have. And this is the whole point, In order to have a healthy relationship, you must love yourself completely. And to the measure that you love yourself is the exact measure that you can measure out to others. So if you do not completely love yourself, you will always be looking for someone to fill that lack outside of yourself.
Always feeling like you can't accomplish anything as well. We're talking about jealousy in relationship, and there's all kinds of levels of jealousy in a relationship. I think, Matthew, before I go to, I hope I remember now, I want to just say I'm very pleased that you said I have to take responsibility. I mean, that was the key. You have to take responsibility, and you said I'm taking my responsibility to acknowledge my eternal essence. That's bombastic. Oh my gosh, nothing stands in your way when you do that. Now hold that tight. And there are relationships out there that are not mated relationships that have levels of jealousy in them. And, again, it's once I had to look at, somebody said, she called me the Italian Spitfire. And
now it's never going away, Carmelle.
It's okay. And I thought, okay, well, that's okay. I didn't mind that so much. But then one day she just said, how come it is you have all of this? And I looked at her and I went, you're angry? And she went, yes, you have all of this. It was like, how dare you have all of this? No, it was just energy. All I had more than her was energy and a will to do something, to participate in things that I was joyful about. And I looked at her and I finally said, I'm really sad that you're angry about this because I don't have anything that you can't have. I don't have anything you can't have. It's that coveting somebody else's anything, coveting somebody else's relationship, experience, or somebody else's relationship, somebody else's position. You're right, Julien, that the word is experience, whatever fill in the blank. Taking that responsibility for yourself, and to have those things, if you admire those things instead of getting angry that somebody is showing them to you because you want them. Again, it's like, when we attract people who are, not being so nice to us, it's definitely something we have to look at internally, because it's an all-attractive reality. You're responsible. You attracted that person so that you could quiz yourself, or because there's something there that you're in a denial about at the moment, or you're back you're backslashing and you're falling asleep into old patterns, and you're attracting this junk to you again. So taking that responsibility is really is really the key. The key. That is the key. And once you take that responsibility, having the acknowledgement comes a little bit easier. Grabbing that grand acknowledgement that I am Prime Creator. I'm a spark of Prime Creator, and so are you. So when Oliver calls and he says, I love you, you all mirror this wonderful stuff, when I wanted to say to him 3 times, Oliver, it's you we're mirroring, because that's the truth. So if he's worried about relationship, don't worry about a thing. You're seeing love everywhere you look, Oliver. And you're taking responsibility for that. You're choosing to see love. Choose to see love. You can't. Well, you can if you want to, but it's not fun. You can be an Archie Bunker if you want. You can. It's okay. It's people have done it and they've muddled along, but it's not fun. It's not a fun journey. And at this point, because of the dreaming that we're doing right now regarding expanding the reality into full potentiality of human consciousness and, an eternal essence, that's not a small mouthful when you're thinking about it. But being it, once you get it, is very, very easy. It is ease and flow. But you must take the responsibility again and again.
That's cute.
Every moment.
And once you do, it's done. And right. So it is. It's done. In that moment, it is done. You allow yourself to receive it now, enough playing the mind games of unworthiness. Right now. Know it now,
Amen.
Now.
Amen.
And honestly, who else would you want to be responsible for your experience?
We've tried that, haven't we? We've given it to other people, and they dropped it in the mud,
A lot of times people, they're afraid to take that responsibility, but to me it is such a comfort. I'm in control. You can't be lazy about this. You really can't. You can't be lazy about this, and ultimately you have to take responsibility. Ultimately, you are responsible because you are going to be the one held responsible.
Might as well be now.
It's your experience. It's your life. It's important to recognize that you're responsible for it. And it's all within. Everything. Each and every single one of you, you're given the same amount of time, 24 hours in a day. It's the same for me. You have 2 arms, 2 legs, heart, mind, soul, body, energy, same like everybody else. You have the capacity to love and to feel, just like everyone else. You have all that you need, just like everyone else. This is, it's very, very easy to look at the differences between people. But fundamentally, we are all the same.
We are one.
Fundamentally, we are all looking to connect. We all want to love and be loved. We all want to care and be cared for. We all want to feel happiness, to feel acceptance, and to feel purpose, fulfillment. These are all common things in the human experience that now we look to fulfill these things in different ways, in our experience, but fundamentally we're all the same in that way. So if one person takes responsibility and another person doesn't, do you call that other person a victim? No. There are no victims.
No more. That's over. That is over.
In Creator's universe. There's no such thing.
There's nowhere to run and hide anymore. Wherever you go, there you are.
Well, I would like to point out a little bit of how I approach taking responsibility for someone else and how that is transmuted into, I don't take responsibility for anyone, not even my kids, it seems. And that hurts. That used to hurt to say that. What I do, and I recognize that I do well, is I hold the space for them to be themselves and hold the space for them to make their decisions. Everyone around me. I can't make decisions for anyone. I will not make decisions for anyone. But what I do is I will hold the space to let them realize that they are the empowerment over their own experience and that they have every right to make and do whatever they want to follow their heart doing. And so that's not being responsible. If anything, that is allowing someone to cultivate their own development. And for me, I get to learn and observe other people cultivating and developing themselves, and that supports me at the same time. So at some level, you do self-work. At another level, you hold a space for others to do self-work, and then that self-work gets to reflect in your own personal work. It's like vicarious self-work almost.
That's very courageous, Julien. Yeah, it comes back to really claiming your sacred space. Sacred. I think that's really important also. You know, we're timeless. We're timeless. This is one timeline. One experience. Honor it. Let's honor it, Let's honor it. Let's play. Let's claim our sacred space and allow others and see others as sacred in their own right. And that's so beautiful,
First see yourself as sacred. See yourself as sacred, and you will see everyone as sacred.
And then the respect goes up by like an extreme amplitude. Yep.
All right, guys, I'm going to jump off, but thank you so much for taking my call, and this was great.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for sharing and joining us, Matt. Anytime.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you.
All right, take care, guys.
Take care, Matthew.
Okay, we have area code 661. Area code 661, are you there?
Oh, hi, I think that's me.
Is that Lydia?
No, this is Morgane.
Oh, Morgane. Okay,
Hello, Morgane.
For a second, you sounded like Lydia.
Oh, hi.
And that's a compliment,
Julien.
by the way.
I know. I heard her the other day. What a wonderful soul.
And how can we help you today?
Well, I don't know about help, but I just had an example of how claiming your own individual creative power works. Just this morning, I was inviting a friend of mine to join me on a trip to Hawaii that I'm going, that I'm going on in a couple of weeks. And this person is humming and hawing, and I would say generally embodies the essence of no in how they approach life. And they were going, and money and all sorts of question marks and things. But the general frequency that they were operating on was a no frequency. And I have all the exact same issues in terms of, like everyday concerns, money and how am I going to get there and what's the financial aspects and, all of the exact same questions that we all have. But I was operating as if it was going to happen. And that's, to me, the word yes. And operating on the word yes, I had the same issues, but I came downstairs right after this conversation and looked at, my bookings and my flights, and then I checked my emails, and I had a client call me and wanted to book a session when I had just said, my entire income is based on people calling me and booking sessions with me. So there was a yes response from the universe right there to my question about my income. And then I had another email right after that was a friend who just emailed me discount passes for the flight. So I just got about 40% knocked off my flight bill. So that's how the world works. When you are operating in a yes and an open-hearted way in which you're embracing the ability for the universe to manifest it for you, it will happen. So it's just an example that I thought I'd share.
You know, it's really interesting that you use that word, because energetically, that word yes and the word universe to me are equal.
Yeah.
Universe, or one word. Okay? The universe is one word, and that word is yes. The universe says yes to everything. Can I do this? Yes. Can I do that? Yes. Can I do the yes? It even say yes to no. Can I choose no?
Exactly.
Yes.
All inclusive.
It is.
Exactly.
Yes and the universe are synonymous.
You know, it's funny that you're mentioning it, because John Lennon met Yoko Ono and fell in love with her because of an installation piece that she did with a tiny piece of paper that had the word yes on it. It was stuck on the ceiling, and you had to climb this ladder, this really high ladder, to go see what it was. And there was a magnifying glass hanging there. And he's going, what the hell is this? And he goes up there and he saw the word yes, and he went, who did this? And he fell in love with her. Isn't that interesting? All for the word yes.
It's exactly how it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was just my little bit of sharing, and I'm about to give a talk later in October about this exact thing to a bunch of photographers. So we'll see if it resonates for anyone there. But the power of language and the power of the word yes.
Perfect.
For the creational, the creational force of the universe.
It's as if yes is the expansion and no is the contraction.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, you know, does the universe actually hear the word no? Does it hear negation? No, it doesn't hear negation. It says, you say, don't bring me that bad thing. And what's the first thing you get? It's the bad thing.
Exactly.
So you focus on yes, focus on what you love, focus on your joy. That's awesome. Good. I'll see you in Hawaii.
Are you in Hawaii?
Yes.
Are you in
No, I'm not in Hawaii. I thought you said, are you going to Hawaii? You going to Hawaii? Yes.
Say yes, and you'll get there, is what I've learned. Wonderful. Thank you. That's all I had to share. And, I just wanted to thank you, Bob. I don't think I've ever spoke to you with my voice in person. I really, really enjoy listening to you. And everything that you say, it really, really, it's a joyful experience for me.
Well, I'm glad that you got to add your voice with ours, because it's been pleasant.
Great. And hi, Julien. Yeah. A big hug to you.
Yep. Love you, too.
Okay. We'll talk again.
Thank you for calling. Oh, we've got such great callers. Everybody else, continue. Don't be shy. It's not that bad, I promise. Anyway.
I was fortunate enough to actually get to meet Morgane in person, and that was really wonderful.
She sounds it. She's got a similar quality to Lydia's voice, which is awesome. Now, let's see, are there any more callers left? There's a few more people on the line, but you don't have your hand up. I'll just remind you, there it goes. If you hit the one button, you'll flag me. So area code 617.
Hey, what's up, guys? What's going on? It's Mike, the mailman from Boston. Just listening in. How's everything?
Hey, Mike from Boston. Welcome back.
Oh, thanks, guys. Just laying out here on the grass, looking up at the skies. It's pretty awesome. Just thinking how wonderful I am.
Listen to the show.
Yeah, man, it really is. It's really a great, just a great environment to be in. To just like sit and vibe with you guys.
I'm glad you joined us this afternoon.
Yeah, man. I was really resonating with that last caller about like just instant manifestation and how it's like picking up more and more. Just a little quick example. I walk by this like I guess some would call them homeless people, but I just call them people. You know, just kind of just sitting there looking for some change. You know, just to get something to eat. And sure as day, he asked me if I have a dollar, and I've seen this guy before. You know, he's a regular down here, so I actually didn't know if I had a dollar, and so I told him if there is a dollar in my wallet, you're more than welcome to it. So I opened my wallet, and there's $2 in there. So I just gave him $1. Instant manifestation, like totally forgot about these $2 up in my wallet, and then this dude needs it, and it's all his. So it's interesting, like the things that are going on, and if you're paying attention, it's really like interesting how fast and how quick it's taken over. It's amazing, and it's like people are loving more and more. It's just like normally you don't see those types of things, and now you're starting to see them more and more, and it's really encouraging. Some people can focus. You can focus on the bad, but when you focus on the good, it like magnifies it, and it's amazing.
How did you feel when you were able to give in that way?
Man, it's just awesome. Like that's just, you know, it's an addicting feeling, to tell you the truth, because like you just want to see other people in good moods, and so why not do everything in your power and for everybody you come in contact with to leave them quote unquote better or feeling better or in a positive way.
Yep. And
it's like helping yourself.
Right.
It is.
Right.
And that's the whole point. Whatever you do, you know, for others is what you're doing for yourself. You know, and how you treat others is a reflection of how you're treating yourself. I know people who treat their cars better than they treat themselves. Seriously, you know, the first little ping or sound that they hear in their engine, that car is right in the shop. You know, yep. They could be coughing up a lung and will not drag themselves to a doctor. You know, or take medicine or care for themselves. You know, people have to really start to
take responsibility.
That's really what it's all about. It's funny because there's people in my life even now. And this is crazy that I never thought would like ask questions or start talking about, you know, okay, where we're at and like the frequencies and like, you know, what you know, just the absolute plan and all this and just reality in general. And like now the people that I used to be like shunned by are like asking questions, and so it's like, you know, it's really it's interesting to see how this is all playing out, and like everybody keeps saying about the absolute plan. You gotta kind of love it, you know. This is awesome.
Well, you know what's really cool about this, Mike? When you start asking those questions within yourself, it automatically affects everyone in your circle. That is amazing. And then you really see how connected we are. As soon as you start doing the work, you think that you're doing the work only for yourself, but every person that is in your circle, I guarantee, is an aspect of you. So as you change, they will change.
Yeah, it's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, as you release some of these patterns, as you release some of these programs, you'll find some of these people who were negative influence in your life will disappear. They'll become less and less relevant in your life, and eventually you'll look for them. Have you seen someone? I don't know. Is he still alive? I don't know. You know, and
Absolutely.
something new will be there to take its place. You know, it is if you really want to look at your issues, to see what problems you have, look around you. What are you experiencing? You're experiencing you. So if you are not in a place of peace, you are not in a place of unconditional love, or you're experiencing pain, suffering, it is time to, again, Carmelle?
Take responsibility. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
You know, it's really funny. Just to say to my kids, be accountable here. Come on, you know, be accountable. Be accountable. It's really very easy. It's not as hard as it might seem. It's not as scary as it might seem either. You know?
And it's a freeing It really,
Yeah.
you know, when you can absolutely love yourself, okay, all the things that comes with that, you know, even that beer belly that you've got, when you can absolutely. I wasn't referring to you, Mike, but but when you can absolutely love yourself, you're going to find there's no need for pretense. There is no need, and they will all drop, and suddenly you'll become transparent and open and quote unquote what you've been afraid of, being vulnerable. You're not vulnerable. You'll find that you're in your absolute power when you're like that. The only thing that makes you vulnerable
where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, when you see weaknesses in yourself. If you see weaknesses in yourself, then you're vulnerable. Somebody will exploit that weaknesses. But when you absolutely love yourself and you see yourself as perfect, there is no vulnerability. You are bulletproof.
Well, yeah, Matt.
Anyone can come at you by. You are just. It's seamless.
Because you know it's not true. Just like
Absolutely.
I said, you know, with the purple dress, you know it's not true. You won't react. Somebody will go, "Oh, you stupid, blah 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 blah," whatever it is they want to say about you, and you could just like, "Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I see how you feel about yourself. I'm so sorry."
Yeah, but don't tell them that outright. I've learned not to do that.
Normally, when something like that, in my case, happens, I will say to somebody, "Hey, it says a lot more about the person saying it than it does about the person it being said to." So it's like I will actually tell people that. I say, I have long hair. People tell me that I should cut my hair all the time, and I say, it says a lot more about you that you want me to cut my hair than it does about me for having long hair.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? And so it's like, hey, you're saying that to yourself, Brett, buddy, like,
But when you don't react, you know what it does? It causes them. What you do is you put up a mirror.
Exactly.
If you've ever seen someone flip out, and then no one react to it, everybody just kind of stares at them. All of a sudden, they'll stop and they'll look at themselves, and more times than not, they'll leave because they'll suddenly be like, "Oh my goodness, look, I'm being crazy. Look at how I'm acting."
There's an Aboriginal tribe in New Zealand. There's a chiropractor who went down there to do some work with these indigenous people. They were expecting her. The shaman told them that she was coming, and she had no idea. This is a woman who lived in New York and had diamonds. She wrote a book, Marla, can't remember her name, sorry. Anyway, what she noticed about the child rearing, as they were a nomadic tribe, is that there wasn't any discipline. There was no hollering and hooting and hollering and American style discipline, Western style discipline. They would the whole tribe, when the child would act out for whatever reasons those would be, everybody would just stop and turn and very quietly and lovingly just gaze at the child. And it was self-correcting. They didn't have discipline problems because the whole, all of the energy was not you're being a jerk. It was, and what do we have here? Let's just reflect this back with love. They just gazed at it. And it stopped immediately and was like,
it's so powerful. It is.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when people, and I have found this to be true even within myself, because when I was in the closet, anyone who was expressing themselves openly in a way that I wasn't able to express myself, I immediately got angry at them. I got angry at them and it took a while for me to realize I wasn't angry at them. I was angry at myself for not allowing myself to be the same way. I saw myself, my own limitations.
This is happening in a lot of relationship breakup scenarios these days. Just so you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
lots of people are just can't handle it in really interesting ways I'm discovering.
Yeah, it's happening a lot right now.
Yeah.
Right now. A lot of people are experiencing that. And, you know, when a relationship is ending, it's never, well, you can't say it's never a pleasant thing. Sometimes it is all for the best, but understand that it is appropriate. Getting a little feedback there. It is appropriate. It's appropriate for where you're going in the space that you're creating for yourself. Certain things may need to fall away, and they will. But that's not the end of the world. It's the beginning.
Right. It's I don't want to say it's sort of like you're letting go of a no to have a yes, but it is a little bit like that. It's a freeing of the energy that is in contrast, and just sort of like letting it flow naturally at that point. It's like there's lots of things that prevent us from being in the flow, and it's usually things that we associate with closely, or people we associate with, or subjects or experiences we associate with. And when we let them go, it's almost like the free flow of the energy that was used to hold that space now can be invested in lots of other forms of expansion and experience. So I'm always looking around and seeing what I can discard in terms of beliefs or old patterns, because it really charges me to have fewer limitations. But some of them I do choose to keep for a while. Others I have limitations that people point out in me and say, hey, why are you even allowing limitations? Well, for the moment, it's serving in ways you may not understand. But, you know, we're all moving in that direction of limitlessness, I feel.
Yes.
The whole regaining our sovereignty of our energy.
There's another thing I wanted to talk about, and that's about a form of exchange. We're getting some background. Where's that coming from?
It's coming from a call, I think.
Mike, if you don't mind, I'm
still online. Yeah, guys, put me back on mute. I love you guys. I'll be listening.
Okay, thanks for calling, Mike.
Yeah, no problem.
Bye, Mike.
To exchange the exchange of energy through the touch. It's so important. The human touch is so powerful. And, you know, today, you know, I look at society and how society has gotten so distorted when it comes to that. If you touch someone, they're filing a sexual harassment charge. He patted me on my back. It's ridiculous how disconnected we've become. You know, people are starving in some cases, in certain societies, in certain environments. They're starving for that simple exchange, you know, of a human touch. You know, when you're feeling really, really bad, you know, or you're really, really depressed, or you're feeling sad in some way, and you're holding that in, sometimes all it takes is just a touch, and all that emotion just pours out. You know, and people don't want to be touched in that because they're afraid to let that emotion go. Don't touch me, don't hug me. You know, if you hug them, what happens? It all comes flooding out. There is this immediate release, and people need to do this more. You know, with your friends, with your families, with the people who are around you, to show that intimacy. You know, that touch, and there's nothing. You know, when I went to Egypt, one of the things that I really, really appreciate about their culture is how affectionate they are, and this is also true in a lot of your indigenous tribes. You know, and you watch how they interact with each other. You know, they're not afraid to be intimate. You know, to touch, to hold, to walk hand in hand, arm in arm, you know, regardless of sex. You know, you go to Egypt, you will find men walking hand in hand and arm in arm. You know, it is that connection, that ability to connect with other human beings that is sorely lacking, and we really, really need to look at that. You know,
and there's different levels of it that we accept between each other. Like, for instance, many people don't consider a handshake to be anything intimate, but there is energy exchange. There is a sort of like there is, you are receiving a part of them, and they're receiving a part of you, and it's more than just the appearance. There's actual like increase in ability to empathize with the person at that stage.
Yes.
I had a very interesting. I'll never forget this. It happened like 30 years ago. I went to an ashram that was, everybody was kind of gone except for a couple of caretakers in New Hampshire, and my husband and I, we drove up, poking around, wanted to stop and see, you know, while we were taking a tour of New England. And I said, let's stop at the ashram and, you know, see what's happening there. And when we got there was a gentleman who was, like, looking at us like, who are you? You know, it was like almost not quite the response I was expecting to come from somebody who lived in an ashram. You know, it was like, you know. And I went, okay. So I walked over to him and I shook his hand. I put my hand out and I shook his hand, and he was like really limpy, passive, like he didn't really want to shake my hand. But then when he dropped my hand, I said to him, we just stopped by, and I put my hand on his back, and when I did, the electricity in his body jolted. I could feel it through my hand. My energy touched his energy on his back. I think I hit his heart chakra. And he stopped for a second, and he melted, and he went, okay, let me show you around. It was like, ooh, that was different. I'll never forget the response. And it was just that click, click, you know, that was like, he didn't really want to touch my hand. He was like, you know, I didn't want to do that. But when I put my hand on his back, you know, and I touched him there, and I made sure I made contact with all fingers, you know, on his back, he stopped where he was going in fear, and he said, "Okay, we'll play." So that was kind of an early indicator that touch is really important and needs to be used very carefully. And also, I think people don't touch themselves enough. You know, you go in the shower and you wash, and you get out. You know, you go in the tub and you just rinse and you get out, and you don't spend the time, you know, in spa mentality. I'm going to use my special loofah on my skin. I'm going to love my skin. I'm going to massage my own feet. You know, these are things that your psyche actually absorbs. You know, you're just recycling that self-nurturing, reinforcing the self-love, you know, that you have going there, but as well as expressing it. And once you get used to even, you know, doing that with yourself, loving yourself, it does become easier to reach your hand out or to rub somebody's back or to reach to hug somebody, because you've relaxed yourself.
Man,
on your own.
That's the crazy transformation that happened for me in the last 6 months. It was like ridiculous.
Do tell.
I have to hug everybody now. I'm like, no more handshakes. It's like
embrace.
Almost. So everybody. People I don't know. It's like, oh, nice to meet you. Let me have a hug. I'm coming in every time. And people will be like, what are you doing? I'll be like, I'm enjoying your space, enjoying who you are, and I'm respecting everything that you're bringing. And I want you to know it. I'm being obvious that I care for what you're bringing and who you are, even if I don't know the person. It's of extreme value for me to be able to connect with people that way. And because of the hug, and that builds an empathy bond. I know sometimes it seems overt the way I do it, but really, because I'm not interested in talking fluff most of the time. I'm like, you want to hang out with me? We're not talking fluff.
It's hard. And it's hard when you're talking to people who they want to talk about the weather, only the weather.
Yeah.
You know, or bills, or money, you know, and you go, no, I want to talk about something real.
Yeah.
Can we talk about something real? I don't have I don't have the wherewithal anymore to fake, pleasantries for very long,
Yeah.
If you're in a lobby of a show, a theater or something like that, and you meet friends, and you go, oh, hi, how you doing? Okay, and they're part of the straights. You do that. But, it's just really difficult to hold long-term conversations about things that don't exist anymore. It's real hard. You almost have to swallow your tongue, or gently speak your truth and then have to be about your way because, now you're getting the, I don't think I want to go there look,
Yeah.
But that's okay, too.
Yeah.
I in my experience, I've never, gay, straight, male, female, I've never found anyone who did not respond positively to touch. All of my friends, they're sitting next to me, I will rub your back, just out of affection. And it is sexual because there's an exchange of energy, but it doesn't mean that I'm trying to initiate intercourse. And I think that perception that a lot of people think that, we only touch when we're initiating intercourse is just,
or when you're boyfriend and girlfriend,
or we're in a relationship, is not true. It's not the way you were designed. You were designed to exchange energy, and in a, oh my goodness, it's so much quantitatively more powerful when you do it by touch. There's just a huge exchange of energy. It's vital.
You don't even have to believe it. It's happening.
You can feel it. That's why people sometimes are sensitive when it comes to touch. But if you take a newborn child, and this was proven in Russia, where the whole ward of children died except for the one child, and the only difference to this one child is there was a particular nurse on her rounds, and this one child at the end of her rounds, she would always pick up at the end of her rounds, pick up, and she would hold that child and rock it, in her arms before she finished her shift. And that was the only child to survive. And it was that human touch, that need to feel love, that need to feel that exchange of energy that all children need. You don't grow out of it.
In fact, it's the first thing that a baby requires when it's born is to be put on its mother's chest.
Yes.
It's like, that is like giving breath.
It is. It's just as important.
Yeah.
Just as important. And
it also promotes the mother's recovery too.
It does. It does. So, never underestimate the value and power of a good hug. Hugs are powerful. Use them wisely.
Or excessively.
Yes, really.
In Julian's defense, or excessively.
I gotta make a T-shirt. Beware excessive hugging.
Oh, that's a wonderful T-shirt. That's wonderful.
Excessive huggers.
Then you're going to have people standing in line in front of you. You know that.
Let's get to a couple more calls. We're down to our last 15 minutes.
Okay.
So, area code 606.
Hello.
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 And who do we have?
Hey, this is Sherry. This is Sherry in Kentucky.
Sherry.
Sherry.
Hi.
Yay!
Hi, Sherry.
I just talked to you a few hours ago, didn't I, Sherry?
You talked about, I think it was yesterday.
Was that yesterday?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Maybe it was yesterday.
Do what?
Not. You see, my whole time thing is just really screwed up. But
I know.
How you
I know.
doing, Sherry?
I'm good, Julian. Hey.
Hey.
Hi, Sherry.
I was thinking of a couple of things when I was listening to you guys talking about touching. and I wanted to kind of wrap this up and share this with everybody here, because Julien, I didn't get the chance to tell you, but I actually drove like 10 hours to go see Bob. And
okay.
when it was the same thing of going to the castle this past weekend. If I just needed to be there and be in the physical space of these people. And the 10-hour drive, you know, I'm by myself, you know, late 20s woman, and I'm getting in the car and driving 10 hours to see people I don't know. But when I got there, everybody was so very welcoming and everything. And Bob, I got to say, your niece and nephew are just really so respectful. Like I love those guys.
Oh, they're amazing. They're sitting right in front of me right now.
Oh, hey guys, I love them. Tell them I love them.
Yeah, I love them too. I love you too.
Well, when I got there, you know, after 10 hours on the road and everything, you know, you're kind of dazed and confused a little bit. So when I got there, everybody was like, oh, you know, have a seat. Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? And I said, no, I'm fine. But before I sit down, and I pointed right at Bob, I was like, I have to hug this guy. And I went right in. He was just laying on the couch. I was like, I'm coming to hug you right now. And at that point, when we hugged, the 10 hours meant nothing. It meant nothing, because that hug alone meant, thank you, I love you, I'm in this with you, let's do this.
And come back anytime, Sherry. We had a great time while she was here. It was a brief visit, but we had such a good time.
I know, and it was kind of the same way of going to the castle. You know, it's funny that Morgane was on the call a few minutes ago, because she was there when I was there at the castle.
Yeah.
And when we were, you know, it was super late and everybody was going to bed, and there were a couple of moments when everybody was hugging and saying goodnight and everything, and I think it may have been Andrew that put out his hand to shake my hand goodnight, and I had that automated response, just putting out my hand to meet his, and something to me went, no, wait a minute, I want to hug. Don't shake my hand, I want to hug. I just flew, you know, states away. I've been up for like 24 hours. I'm hugging you right now. And it was the same with you, Julien. And when I left the next day, you guys were actually on the call, and I made a point to make that poor woman who had come to pick me up. And I told her, wait a minute, I have several people I have to say goodbye to, and I made sure that I looked everybody in the eye and I hugged them with as much, you know, loving intent as I possibly could. And it was the same thing. I still remember. Yeah, and it was the same thing with Julien and Andrew, and it was this hug, again, that meant, thank you, I love you, I'm listening, I'm with you, let's do this, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I still resonate from that, and I can remember exactly what it was like right now.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in my house, we're how often do we say I love you each day, guys? All the time. Like at least 6 or 7 times a day we say I love you to each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just something that we do perfunctorily. We really mean it. You know, sometimes we just sit there and just enjoy each other's. He's like, you know, I really, really love you.
No.
And it's you know, it's so good to be able to express yourself that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I have a friend, you know, he knows who he is, and I'm not going to mention his name to embarrass him, but every time I tell him, I love you, he'll giggle and he'll turn all red. You know? Because it was something that he just never experienced in his upbringing, in his house. They didn't say I love you to each other. You know, it was, and even to this day, and he knows I mean it. It still gives him that uncomfortable in it, but I think it's so cute and adorable, so I say it to him all the time.
Keep doing it. Just keep doing it.
Yeah, it's such a better way to live. It's so. I just can't go back. I can never ever go back to being that withdrawn, lonely person. I can never do it.
Hey, Bob.
Found self-worth.
Yes.
Hey, Bob and Sherry and Carmelle. I love you guys.
I love you guys.
Oh, I love you too.
And I love all those in the chat room and those that are listening.
I love you.
I really do.
Powerful words, use them. Sherry, thank you so much for calling.
Oh, thanks, anytime. I'm glad I got in.
Sherry is she is one of the things, and I'll share this with you, Sherry. After you left, both my niece and nephews, she's so cool. It's like she was one of the coolest friends that you had over. She came in, she just made herself right at home, went to the refrigerator, they loved you. So
good.
They were like, I can hang out with her. Oh, please do.
Good deal.
Hopefully, when you come back, we'll have a space up in the country where you can go. So we're working on that.
We're gonna have a fireside chat very soon. I know it.
Oh, I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good
but
to me.
We have one more caller. Sharon, I'm gonna leave your line open. Please share it as you see fit. But I'm gonna get to this one last caller.
Sure.
Area code 661.
Yeah, it's Morgane again. Hi.
Morgane.
I think I just wanted to get on a call with Sherry because I caught online before I heard her voice even. That's funny. Hi, we just needed to link up again, I guess.
Well, once I held your hand, that's it. You're linked up with me now.
I'm going to start crying again.
I did have. Sorry.
You do. It's a great effect. Tears are good. They're cleansing. Oh, well, I do have one more thing that I wanted to add with my yes comments earlier, and I'm sure Julien and Sherry can comment on this as well, but I have a very interesting relationship with my son, and he joined me at the castle experience, and one of the things that I've seen with him and with all little children, I have lots of experience with children, that touch thing is so important. And I know there was an article recently that I just linked to, and of course I don't have any way of verifying the truth of it, but there was a woman in Australia who she delivered twins, and one of the twins was pronounced dead. And so she unwrapped her son out of the blanket they had him in and put him on her chest instinctually, and just started talking to him as if he was alive. And that skin-to-skin contact and started touching him and speaking to him as if he were there, as if he were really there. And
the father was there, too.
And the father was there, yeah. So 2 hours of this, and he started doing little gasps for air. And then... And basically, she loved him, hugged him to life. So I posted that on your Facebook page, Julien, and I don't know, everybody can share that around. But I found that to be quite fascinating. And with my son, he's definitely what do they call it? Spirited child. And so I know with him. In terms of creating harmony and having that flow of energy continue, when we run into situations where the flow isn't happening, and he's 4.5, so we get moments where our intentions are not aligned all the time. But when I respond to him, this is one thing I've learned, when I respond to him with a yes answer, and that doesn't mean I agree to what he wants or I agree to what he's saying, the specifics. But if I say, Mama, I want a lollipop, and I say, and I know it's not an appropriate time or he's already had 2 or who knows what the situation might be. But if I say, I love that idea, let's have one tomorrow, that's a yes.
Right.
Completely calm response from him, completely in agreement. I just said yes to him, and the energy keeps flowing, and we don't have disagreements in those times. So when I can remember that tool, it's a very useful tool for all parents, is that yes energy. It really works with children, along with the touch, along with that deeper connection. We still co-sleep, and he's 4.5, and he just doesn't want to not co-sleep yet. He wants to be in his mama's embrace, and I fully support that. So that's my extra, along with saying hello and I love you to Sherry.
I love you too. It's all about
Thank
trust.
you. That is a really amazing story. And I've heard that mentioned before about the twins.
Yeah.
Quite an amazing story. And it's so true. It's so very, very true. I'm glad you called back, Morgane. But we are down to our last 5 minutes, and there's some important announcements I want to get out. Coming next week on the Collective Imagination Show, we'll announce this during the week, we are going to have a massive collective meditation. We are inviting all networks, every group. We want to all come together for a special group massive meditation. So plan on that next week. We'll talk more about that on the show on Monday. I'm sure Lisa will have a lot more details to share. But we want to put that out there, so let everyone know. I don't have the exact time, so it'll be on the Collective Imagination Show, I believe, next Tuesday. But get the word out there, and let us all connect, and because I think that is our ultimate technology and probably the most powerful thing that we can do. Everybody, when we talk a lot about the shows, about a lot of the documents that we're putting forth and a lot of the other external doings, if there is one thing, the most powerful thing that we can do is our intention. Our unified intention in a space in that meditative space is more powerful than any other piece of paperwork
or technology,
or technology that you can imagine. So we're going to do this, and we're going to start doing this more and more and more. So we want to talk about. Yes, we're excited about that.
Yeah.
Also, Carmelle, you've got some good news.
Yes. Starting next Thursday, I will be joining my friends Linda Wojcik and Jerry Jones, and we're going to have a yin roundtable on emotional healing and the transitional process. And the show is called The Spiral Journey, and that's on the In5D network on Thursdays from 8 to 10 Eastern Standard Time. So look forward to seeing the familiar faces and calls, etc. Should be fun. We're going to talk about
8 in the morning or 8?
No, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Thursday night on the N5D, right here on the Blog Talk N5D network. So we're going to be helping people with how do I get there? How do I get to focus, and how do I maintain that focus and taking self-responsibility? So we have some wonderful healers that are going to come and share some techniques, and we're going to bounce it all around and just keep on moving. Keep on moving.
Call-in show?
Yeah, it'll be call-in. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure will.
So please, everyone, join Carmelle and the gang next Thursday.
Spiral Journey.
We are down to our last few seconds. I want to thank everyone in the chat room, everyone who called. We love you. Join us next week. We'll all be back. And also next week, remember the group meditation. We'll talk about that on Monday. So good night, good day, good afternoon, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.